And in 2020, during the start of the pandemic, I noticed that a lot more people started discovering the game, and these were people coming from my country, in the Philippines, and it turns out that these were people who were laid off because of lockdown. They didn't have jobs, they were at home, and they were desperate for a way to earn some form of income while stuck at home, and they found Axie. And these were like regular people from the provinces, the rural areas of the Philippines. So this wasn't like early tech adopter who had a lot of Bitcoin or Ether, which was like the profile of Axie Infinity's player base at the start. These were regular people who were trying to find a means to survive, and they found it via a video game. And Axie, in early 2020, had coined the term play to earn because they put SLP in the game, and SLP was, think of it as a proof of play. In CryptoKitties, anyone could breed as many cats as they want, so the population of the cats got ahead of the number of people who wanted to own them. And in Axie, they introduced SLP as something that you had to win in the game. You had to win a match to earn SLP, and they used that as cost for breeding to produce more Axie. So it would kind of pay inflation by proving that you were actually playing the game. And the innovation at that time was that Uniswap was brand new and SLP was tokenized, so it was a token that you could basically mine by playing and winning games. And that was actually how I learned how to use Uniswap. I learned how to figure out what a liquidity pool is. And it turns out that mixing DeFi with NFTs was a really revolutionary idea. So now I could not only play the game, get some tokens, but now I could sell those tokens to someone else using a DEX or an AMM, whereby basically selling your effort in the game for someone's money for people who wanted to buy SLP because they wanted to be more Axies. So this was the start of mid-2020, really start of the growth of Axie Infinity. Before then, it was a very niche game, and it found a product market fit that basically was because of the times then. And a lot more people were coming in, and I was breeding a lot of Axies. I was selling them to people. I was buying SLP, but a lot of people coming in who were skilled and had something to contribute to the community, but they actually couldn't afford to buy these Axies. And this is where the concept of lending or scholarships came in, where there were people in the community that had excess Axies, they had money, and there were people who coming in who wanted to provide the labor, basically the work or the liquidity in the game to play the game, but couldn't afford it. And the community figured out that they could lend their Axies by creating sub-accounts and then giving those accounts to players. And those players couldn't run away with the Axies because they didn't own the private key. The one who owned the assets still had the private key. And yeah, that's how the scholarship system was born. And we started YGG as a way to scale the asset lending system via capital. We raised the seed round to buy Axies and breed them, and then later on other games via community. So we work with independent community managers who recruit their own members in sub-guilds, and we provide them assets. And then with technology, we basically created a system that automates the syncing, the revenue share, the SLP, the asset smart contract, and moving the assets around.
Great. So YGG was the first guild to start, and then after that, all these other guilds started coming up. What is your thoughts on Guild 2.0? Because a lot of the guilds tried to do the scholarship model, and they have ended up not succeeding because YGG has taken up so much of the market share. So a lot of these guilds have decided to actually change their business model, whereas YGG has been sticking to the scholarship model. So what, in your eyes, is the future of Guild 2.0?
Yeah, so there are a couple of key trends to take a look at. First of all, I think, all of the yields in crypto are down right now. So when we look at scholarships themselves, it's not earning any cash flow. That's a problem for a lot of guilds who are relying on the yields from play to earn for their cash flow. Fortunately, we weren't. We have a different business model, which is, I would say, kind of thinking long term. We think of the yield, and we actually give away 90%, 70% to the player, 20% to the community manager, 10% goes to us, because we think of the yields as user acquisition for the players to come into our community. So we don't use the money for our own treasury. We use that to maintain the community that we have. And now that the yields are basically down, a lot of the people who are playing primarily for financial reasons have left, but we're actually left with still a very strong community of players who want to be exposed to Web3, who feel that they have different skills to contribute. And if you think about what it is with YGG, play to earn, X to earn, actually, you have learn to earn, create to earn, move to earn, etc. The core principle there is that you're exchanging your time and skill for ownership. I'm not just earning a fee or getting salary as if I was an employee. And these are definitely not employees. Our community members are part of the community, but they're exchanging their time and effort and skill building the network, and in exchange, they have part ownership of that network.
Right. So you were saying that right now in the bear market, a lot of the games are not earning much. So we saw the GameFi movement really take center stage last summer. But a lot of these games that are around, like you said, they're just not earning any yield. So in your mind, in your view, what do you think the future of GameFi looks like?
Really good question. So again, there's like multiple components to this. It's something we can talk about all day. But I'll talk to you about one of the theses of mine that actually leads what we're thinking about. I think that there is a merging of play to earn and esports that will happen within the next 5 years. If you look at the esports industry, they've been around for more or less 20 years, but it's been tough for esports to consistently have profitability because they're doing events, they're doing sponsorships for games that they basically have no ownership in. So what they're doing is actually like they're making more money for Fortnite or League of Legends or Valorant or whatever. If you look at Web3, we're also building up the same capabilities, content creation, esports teams, supporting the creators is a big thing that we're doing. The key difference is that we're doing this for games you have ownership of. Even the esports players, they may own their own assets. We give them YGG tokens. So there's a greater level of kind of shared ownership and economy in the games that you're helping to make more successful. So right now, there's no Web3 game that is at the level of a League or a Valorant, but I believe it's just a matter of time that we get there. And like the guild, one of the winning guilds will be the ones that provide the most support, not only to the game itself, but the creator, the player community, the competitive community. These are going to be the top guilds, and it will be a merging of esports and PoE.
No, I totally agree with that. And later on in the panel, you guys will hear from, a lot of other people speaking about this topic. So we only have about, I think, 5 minutes left. So one thing that I do want to talk about is the sub-DAO model that YGG has started. And that's important for IBC also because we incubated 2 out of the, I think there's 6 now, 2 out of the 6 sub-DAOs, YGG SDA and YGG Japan. And YGG is actually the first guild to introduce that sub-DAO model. And it's been, people have criticized it, saying that it doesn't help out YGG at all. But I would like to hear from you why you feel like the sub-DAO model works for YGG and also, what do you think about the criticism that we have gotten from it?
Yeah. So if you think about what a guild is, right? You start with community, and then you go to the assets, and then you go to the net worth effect. When we did a successful token sale for YDG in July last year, we figured that it was just a matter of time before competitors would come up, and they did, and some of them have raised a lot of money. But that's any successful community is one that's hyper-local, meaning that, like, when it comes to language, culture, choosing what games that players are actually playing, having the content, the tutorials, the manuals, everything has to be hyper-local, and the only way to do it is with local teams that are not only empowered, but they have ownership over their actions. So, in a way, think of YDG as kind of the governing protocol. Think of it as basically, like, in a way, it's like the federal government. And then there are, like, we have partners that are very local. So it's Brian, Irene, and their teams at YDGC, the Polygon guys we're partnered with at IndieGG. We have Days in Brazil, Ola GG in Latin America, SkyGG in Korea, and so forth. They're the ones that know the specific strengths of each market and are able to tailor our guild offering so that the guilds want to be part of that community. And being part of the community is the most important thing. Scaling a decentralized community, or if you want to call it a DAO or whatever, is very different from scaling a company. Each one person of the community still has to feel that, like, I'm part of the community, I have ownership, and my actions matter. And I think the only way to really scale a community, if you want to be an impact of like hundreds of thousands or millions of people, is via sub-DAOs, because you're making these units as small as possible, where people still feel that their voice matters, they have leadership, and they also have incentive and ownership of their own actions.
I totally agree. I mean, I'm biased because, you know, of YGG SCA and YGG Japan, but, you know, next up we have the latest developments in GameFi and guilds, and I would like to thank Gabriel from coming all the way from Philippines to join us here today. Thank you, Dan.
I'm going to stay here and then this one. Yeah. What are you looking for? Oh, you probably got it.
Hi, how's everyone doing? Man, this crowd is really quiet. I need some response and some life here. How is everyone doing? Are you good? That's more like it. My name is Irene. I'm from YGGC, and I've got a whole bunch of great panelists here, which I'm sure that you guys know of. And today's topic, we're going to talk about latest development in GameFi and guilds. Everybody knows about GameFi and guilds, I hope? Oh gosh, I'm getting a bit nervous here. You guys know about GameFi and guilds, right? And that's why we have amazing panelists here. I'm going to start with Gabby. Gabby, you all know him. He's the founder of Auto Games before YGG. And he's a gaming veteran, he's been around for more than 20 years. So that's Gabby. And then next to him, we have Q. Q, say hi. Q is the founder of GameFi, so you guys have been in the game development space for a long time. He's been in gaming since 2006, I believe, right, Q?
2000.
2000, oh my god, okay. 2000, and his company GameFi went to acquire Compress, and they launched C2X tokens recently, and we're going to talk a bit more about that. And he's now also a partner at Crit Ventures, yeah? Awesome. And we have Q next to him. We have Gary next to him. He's a mentor and investors in many startups, started off in 500 startups and also now in China Accelerator, and he's also the director and strategic partnerships for Animoca brands. Give it up to him. And next to him, we have Christy Choi, who started off in consultancy roles, structuring PE, everything that's difficult, that's in that girl. That's real power there. She's the co-founder of Binance Lab as well, which we all know is a $1 billion crypto fund. And currently, she's co-founding AO, a Web 3.0 playground, and SkyGG, the latest collections of the YGG sub-DAO in Korea. And lastly, we've got Albert Takagi, who's the man with the golden voice. He's the Axie Japan ambassador. So that's what we have for everyone. Let's give them a round of applause, shall we? All right, now we have everyone in the hot seat, right? We are all in the bear market right now, as we all know it. And I'm sure that a lot of people right here have a big question marks of where play-to-earn games is, where GameFi is, where the guilds is, or even, relatable in the crypto space, right? So I'll start with Game Dev from Game Dev's perspective, perhaps from Q-san. What's your take on it? Of current bear market?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really looking at the quality of B2A games now. I think it's not a financial machine anymore, and I think they really are looking into why are people playing games? I mean, it's naturally because they want to really have fun. And I think it also reflects into like the business model, and it also reflects into the user flow. And I think a lot of things are going to change from now on again, because to give you some background about what C2X is trying to do, we're trying to we spent so many years on optimizing the funnel for free-to-play games, and when we first were playing like play-to-earn games, we thought like they completely flipped over the whole order, and there's no funnel, and I think the funnel starts from creating a centralized exchange, creating a wallet, and so on. So with C2X, we're trying to revert those type of orders, and I think what also is going to change is like all of these huge NFT sales that started at the beginning of the launch, even before the launch of the games, I think are going to change in the future. So one of the fundamental things that I think for token price to remain at its level is that the buy power should always be higher than the sell power, and we really haven't been noticing this in the games, and I think it's this is something that all of the game companies are starting to look fundamentally again. I think we had a first great wave of seeing the potential of the market, and now it's time to optimize. I think a lot of the bigger gaming companies joining the ecosystem, like even with all of the Oasis efforts that are also coming, I think a lot of serious game developers will be joining the space, and they will just optimize, So I think a lot of people had a negative view of P2E games until recently, but I think this happens in any type of new industry, and I think it's time to optimize and time to iterate and time to build.
Awesome. And you as a gaming veteran, you believe in play-to-earn games?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So we're thinking, do you want to play a game that you own the assets or not? So it's a no-brainer, and that's the reason why we jumped into this space, because we felt threatened by this movement, and I absolutely think this is a game changer, complete game changer.
That's refreshing to hear, because I've got arrows on my back, right? That new too from a lot of game developers. Thanks for that perspective, Q. Really appreciate that. And I want to move on to Albert to tell us about the Axie story, right? Because a lot of arrows are also going your side, right? About what Axie is doing, of whether Axie is a, Ponzi scheme and whatnot. So if you could shed some lights into it, because I see a lot of questions popping up in our audience head. So I'm going to put you in the hot seat.
All right, thank you so much. First of all, I wanted to introduce myself real quick because originally Jiho, the founder of Axie, was supposed to be here, but unfortunately he couldn't make it due to visa reasons. So I'm just here to fill in for his spot. And my name is Albert. I'm a Axie Infinity YouTuber, the first Japanese Axie Infinity YouTuber. And right now I'm also the Axie Japanese ambassador. So I take care of the Japanese community and the market. But like Jiho always says on Twitter, like we always keep building no matter what the market is, and the bear market is like the perfect time to actually build. And I would like to actually share a couple of stuff that we have deployed recently. And sorry, I'm going to read off something that I wrote just because I want to properly convey Jiho's message. We have like several exciting developments that Axie has released in the past few months. And the first one is the Builders Program. This is actually really crazy because we have opened the gates for our external partners to build games for us on the Ronin network. So far, we announced 12 new games that have been accepted to the Builders Program, and this will be released later, maybe this year in a few months. And this is very significant because Axie was probably the first blockchain game that started the play-to-earn movement. But the real nature of blockchain game is play-to-own, and that's like the narrative that we are really trying to focus right now. And for the first time, what you purchase or win in the game are yours. So that's like the ownership part of play-to-own. And now with these new games out of the Builders Program, you can experience the next level by taking your own Axie NFTs into another game and into another universe. So some of these might include like a battle game, but we also have like an Axie Mario Kart type racing game, and we also have like a Power Defender type of game, and also like Axie puzzle style, and so like a total of 12 games, as I said. And Axie that you nurtured in the Axie Infinity V2, the current gameplay that we have, will be able to live another new life through these other games. And your Axie, which might have been like very strong in V2 or Origin for battling, might not really perform that well in other universe. Whereas a shabby Axie that you might have that didn't really win you battles and stuff might perform really well in an Axie racing game. So like essentially you're gaining more value out of the NFT that you own by taking your Axie into another universe. And so think of it as like you're trapped in one country, but now you're given a passport to travel to other countries. So that's like the idea. And the Builders Program has literally just opened up the world for us. And this, I feel like, is the significant part of Web3. And Sky Mavis and Axie Infinity are leading the industry right now. And another thing we have launched recently is called the Lunacian Code, which is at Axie Infinity, we value our community and the community members more than anything. And we are not just one-way game service provider, but we firmly believe that we build and grow together with the community. And with the introduction of the Lunacian Code, now we have the opportunity to reward those community members for their contribution. So what basically the Lunacian Code does is it's a new type of a referral reward system where the introducer gets compensated on onboarding new players into the ecosystem. And this is made possible with the Web3 blockchain technology, which keeps tracks of all activities as well as all wallet addresses. This is still in very early stage, so we're testing it out, but we feel like this is another show of our community love. And lastly, we've partnered with several guilds recently, and significant program that we released was called the Creator Academy, where Axie Infinity, in our commitment to further building our community in Web3, we have a lot of partnerships with guilds, and one of which is the partnership with NAS called the Creators Academy. And as its name suggests, we believe education is the core of the creators economy, and Axie will be funding a fellowship for 200 people to the 3 months learning experience for community creators. And some of these subjects include like content idea generation, filming and editing, SNS and marketing, and monetizing your creation. And like later on in the future, as robots and AI, like artificial intelligence, gradually start to overtake our routine tasks, what will remain as top priority for us human will be exactly creativity and creation. And this is very compelling to us. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you for that. So the keyword is interoperability across all games.
Yeah, that's something new that we just started, and I, as far as we know, I think we are the first Web3 project to do where you can move around NFTs into a different universe.
Fantastic. So after this talk, if Axie prices goes up, you guys got it from him directly.
This news was announced like several months ago, but yeah, people just didn't do it.
Wasn't truly aware of it, no?
Yeah, but I think it's a big implement that we made to the Ronin network. Yeah.
So, Jen, you've been looking into a lot of game projects, a lot of projects as well, right? So just alluding to what Albert was saying, do you think that should be the direction of what projects should go to, or have you started seeing that movement towards that direction?
Well, as Animoca Brands, we have over 340 investments in blockchain, so largely in gaming, but obviously gaming adjacent businesses. We're probably invested in over 20 different guilds globally. With respect to guilds,
Did you say 20?
probably 20 or 25. Yeah.
Guilds, wow.
Yeah, of course, including YDG and YGG Japan, and but I think for our guilds, what we like to do is spread out our focus geographically. So we're looking at guilds in Africa, we're looking at guilds in South America, obviously in Southeast Asia, and so we find that if you spread out the focus geographically, we find lots of great pockets of guilds in lots of different regions of the world. On the gaming side, of course, it is a bear market, but we also think this is a great time for those of you who are developers to build, and for those of you who are investors to find great companies at cheaper prices than before the crash. So we've been investing into blockchain since CryptoKitties came out. And we were investing in the previous crypto winter. And we made investments into Sky Modus, into Dapper, into OpenSea, and we acquired Sandbox all during the previous crypto winter. And so those all became billion-dollar platforms, subsequently. Of course, valuations have come down a little bit, or significantly for some, but they're still, very, very significant businesses. So we think that, obviously these market challenges are real and significant, but at the same time, there is a lot of opportunity as well.
That's good to know. So this is shopping time for you then?
I don't want to put it, that's a little bit, but yes, I mean, it's certainly a good time to be looking for great teams who are excited to build and excited to make good games.
That's good to know. So anyone who wants to be sharp, who to look for. Yeah? But Choi, how is this? I think that Japan is not really impacted because the valuation hasn't really gone down, right?
Yeah, one thing I've been finding out, which is pretty interesting, is that outside of Japan, Europe, America, most other markets, valuations are down by 50, 60, 70% in some cases. It's a very difficult time for many businesses.
I'm not just talking about blockchain, just, internet in general, or, even outside of tech. But we don't see the same drop in valuations in Japan at this time. We think it's a few different reasons. One is that there's currently a sort of a Japan mass market focus on metaverse and NFTs. So the media is kind of pushing that right now. So that's one reason. We also think that some of the Japanese investors didn't invest in the first wave, and so they're now coming in, investing now into this later wave, and they're kind of keeping valuations a little bit high. And then we think that the other thing is that there are very limited tokens legally for sale in Japan. I think there's 50 plus tokens that you can purchase legally at a Japanese exchange. And so what that has done is it has limited the crypto crash in sort of the average crypto holders, because they're not, hundreds of thousands of crypto holders with all these tokens that have gone down 70%. It's not like that here in Japan. So that's, I think, another reason.
So I'm saying that way, the government doing something, it actually works to cushion it in a way.
In a way, I mean, the regulations in Japan have meant that blockchain gaming is less mature than in other markets, but it also means that it has also cushioned the Japanese market from the crash. That's true.
That's good to know that at least something is working out, right? And that valuation is still holding up, so it's not all bark and gloomy. Now, moving on to the guild side, right? Even once I know you mentioned about that, it's diversifications, having foot on the ground, but with the current changes, which I'll get Gabriel to talk about the guild model later on, do you still believe in the guild model?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a guild accelerator that we've started. So we really think that guilds they go hand in hand with blockchain games. And so we think that the guilds are critical, and that's why we've made so many investments into guilds, and in tools that guilds are using, because the tooling is also immature. But yeah, we think that guilds and games are kind of like, they're both critical.
Left and right hands.
Exactly. Yes.
To know that someone is still well convicted with guilds. Now,
Absolutely.
I guess from the pioneer of guilds, thank you, Jen. From the pioneer of guilds himself, right, Gabby. I mean, in the past few months, especially with the bear market, we've been under a lot of criticism in a way, right? Whether or not the guild model is going to survive, whether the scholarship model is going to survive. I know that you have a big visions as one of the sub does, but I think the audience would like to know what's your view of the guild models, the scholarship models, of whether it's going to continue.
Yeah, so I guess the trouble with crypto is that if we see something that works, whether it's an L1, blockchain gaming, guilds, whatever, you see just an order of magnitude speculation above it that kind of drives it to, I guess, what are unsustainable levels. And I actually go back last year and go back to Axie Infinity. There was real product market fit between V2 Axie with SLP, but I feel that like with SLP being tokenized and available in exchanges, a lot of people basically speculated on the economy, but there was an order of magnitude greater than the game economy itself. So there was definite product market fit, but it kind of went along with that. There was a lot of money coming into blockchain last year, and I think that it kind of put the economy, the speculation economy, a lot higher than what the actual game economy was. And that's fine when things are going up. When things are going down, it really hurts the community, the player base, because people are used to, for example, like maybe making so much money at some level in the game, but a lot of the money is driven by speculation. So I do think that guilds are here to stay. Like at the core of crypto and gaming is really community, and guilds have existed in games for a very long time. Think about the earliest MMOs, think about RuneScape, World of Warcraft. What is different about guilds now is that there is a level of ownership between the guilds and the players in the the relationship you have with the games. And like as Q was saying, this is extremely powerful, right? And I think that we're in a phase where games are trying to figure out the economy, tokenomics, reward systems, so that it's more sustainable, and guilds are figuring out like how we're adding value to the player base and to the economy as a whole. We've always thought very long term. Like I have kind of a 10 to 20 year vision of where to take YGG, and this has to be built out, and we have to kind of tune out the speculation for a bit and really like work with the games, work with the community, build product, but it takes time for these network effects to come into play, for products to be built. But yeah, like I think we're just at the very beginning. Axie itself, the new version of the game Origins coming out, and I think it's very promising. And we're seeing lots of talent coming from free-to-play, from MMOs going to Web3. I don't see people moving back and saying, like, I've had enough of this Web3 and I'm going back to free-to-play. It just doesn't happen. Like, the planet thing is only one way, so you know that this is where the future is headed.
Awesome. So it's the scholarship model that will continue in YGG.
Yeah, so if you build on the scholarship model, the basic primitive is asset lending, where people who own an asset and there are people that want to use it. I don't think that's ever going to go away.
Awesome. So that's going to be different. The basics of YGG as a guild, right? But I want to poke a little bit because I got a lot of these questions, so you guys are going to hear from him directly. What's the relationship or what's the purpose of having sub-DAOs on top of YGG?
Yeah, so those are a way for us to really localize the flavor of the community. I was talking about this with Brian earlier. Local language, community events, that feeling of belonging to a community. That is a very local thing, and that is really how you grow and scale a community. So even though a guild seems like it's something made in the metaverse, you're in Discord, the real power of guilds is actually when you go out, meet people in person, do an event, hold a tournament, share a meal with your community. That's where the winning guilds will be.
I like that. So it's not only living in the metaverse or in the La La Land. That's why we have this conference so that we could put faces to your avatar or your profile pictures, right? You might have a bored ape, but our faces are more important than that bored ape as an identity, because in one of the day we're so humans. Awesome. Now, I want to put the hot seat to Christy, right? Christy is our latest Sky GG. Korea is not it's not like Southeast Asia, right? They don't play for the money.
We all love food, so we're all together, but in a way not, I guess.
In a way, but Korea somehow is a little bit different, right? I mean, the economy is there. It's way above Indonesia for sure. I mean, I go to Korea, so I don't see a lot of homeless people. I go to Jakarta, I'm like... So, you being the latest, welcome to the family, by the way, the latest addition to the YGG ecosystem, how do you plan to do this scholarship model in Korea, and do you think that the scholarship model would work?
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of great discussion in this panel today, but guilds are here to stay. It doesn't change at all that we're at the end of the day, everything that the blockchain gaming is trying to do is to give ownership to the community, and we are trying to empower people to not just earn, not just participate as a user, but transform them as an active user and active participant in the network themselves, actually building out the game together. So I'm seeing much more, I guess, progression of the guild model to be, empowering the creators. And speaking of Korea, we've been a very strong gamers community, builders community in terms of both, the engineering pool, but at the same time, we have a great pool of gamers. Korea has an amazing number of esports players who are, world-class, players who've been winning and prospering across the board with millions of followers globally. So we see the guild model pick up, obviously based on the scholarship model itself as well, which YGG and other sub-DAOs have been doing. At the same time, I guess the little spice that we want to give for SkyGG is going to be, focusing on esports. We're onboarding esports players to be the scholars and the community manager themselves, so that, even during the bear market, because we're just getting started, it is a little trickier for us to just, build up a deal from nowhere. But we're trying to sort of absorb the fan base and show how, crypto is not just about speculation. We're not trying to rip off your influencer. It's just really onboarding these players to be the agent of the blockchain gaming, and also helping out the future of blockchain gaming who want to build a sustainable economy within the blockchain gaming with the help of the esports players, because at the end of the day, the gamers themselves are the best experts of building the game, understanding the game economy, and they are the great ambassadors who represent the games themselves. So for SkyGG, I guess where our focus and our funnel is going to be starting from how do we absorb, how do we show the respect to the existing gaming community, and how do we bridge that into Web3 gaming. So based on the scholarship model, the deal model that we've been seeing abroad, that'll be the little spice that we will have for SkyGG's perspective, and I believe that will be sort of a trend across the board as well.
That doesn't sound like a little spice. That sounds a lot of spice there. So are you saying that you'll be bringing the athletes from Korea into the YGG ecosystem?
Yeah, for sure. I don't necessarily want to limit that to Korean players, but I guess given how we're stemming from Korea, and Korea traditionally has had a great talent base in terms of gaming. Through them, we definitely see this model to be scalable, and it doesn't have to be even just professional players. We have multiple level of players, and I guess coming back to the education problems, we will be helping out and working with other sub-DAOs and the YGG Guild itself to be educating how amateur players become professional players, and basically nurture the economy so that the aspiring players can even become professional esports players. Having millions of followers will probably be a big thing, and we want to see how esports can be plugged into Web3 gaming, and that's gonna bring in millions of audiences who see people playing blockchain gaming, and I think that's very exciting in general.
That's fantastic to know. Now I know who to send my amazing players from Southeast Asia to train. You are setting up somehow a school there. Because in Southeast Asia, we do have people who are even homeless, right? Who didn't have anything, especially during the COVID times. And Axie Infinity really helped out in the Philippines and the entire Southeast Asia to put livelihood back. Because I think suicide rates was record high in Thailand, for example. And because people are jobless at that time, they couldn't find any job at all. And so in Indonesia, real case, one of our scholars couldn't even leave the house because of government regulations, but this was exactly what he said. I shared this with Gabby, is that I had to leave the house because the probability of me getting COVID and dying from it is less than 100%, but me staying home and dying of starvation is a definite thing if I don't go out. So that's the reality on the ground, and that's why I applaud YGG for setting up the ecosystem and putting together amazing people, because I think through this panel we can see that collaborations is key to creating a better world. I think a lot of people are here. We've got investors, we've got game developers who you have no idea how much of a relief for me to hear that there is a game developer that has started to develop games to enter into Web3 and believe in the Web3 space, because we need a lot more game developers in this space to shape it. They've been around for centuries, right? And so thanks a lot for sharing that. We have a little bit of time, so I want to throw it to all the panels, right? All of you guys play games, right? And all of you guys believe in Web3. Does the audience all play games? So we all started playing games because we like it, right? And so I want to start with Albert, because you are the influencer of Axie. And a lot of people say that Axie is not a fun game to play.
I don't think so. I think it's a fun game to play. I mean, honestly, with Axie Infinity Classic, the original gameplay that we had, the hurdle to enter the eco space was a little bit high. As in, you need it to buy 3 Axies before you could even start playing the game. Whereas right now we are anticipating on the launch of Axie Origin. which includes like free starter Axie. So basically anyone, even if you're like a teenager or like anyone like who's not, you know, in the crypto space, you can just download the game and try it out for free. And the more as you progress in the adventure mode, you can collect more starter Axies, which are actually really strong. Like even right now, we just started the first Axie Origin Alpha season, which is not like an official season, but it's like a test phase where we are giving out AXS prize pool, and you know, people are competing, and the starter Axies are, you know, one of the Axies that are in the top leaderboard, and people are enjoying. And we've passed 700,000 downloads so far, and this is without any token earnings. I think the numbers, you know, tell itself, and we are constantly communicating with the community members. And we have like hundreds to thousands of feedbacks every single day, and we, our team is like always constantly working on fixing the bugs and balancing patches, and we are able to do this and build a great game because we are communicating and talking with the community like in a very close relationship. So. I really believe that we have one of the strongest Web3 communities in the world, and with the help from the community, I think we can make Axie Origin even a better game.
That's good to know. But the key is, before you joined Axie, you mentioned that you are an influencer, right?
Yes.
So did you fall in love with Axie games before?
Yeah, so I was originally a community member. I was the first, like I said, the first Axie YouTuber in Japan. I was the only one like posting Axie videos on YouTube, and the reason why I was doing that was because I like just purely loved the game, and it's like a dream come true that I am now a part of Axie Infinity, and my words, actually has like some sort of effect towards the game, and it's a mind-blowing experience.
Thank you for sharing that, Albert. I wanted to pinpoint that because just want to show you guys that that's a real case. You know, someone who started off from loving the game first, and right now is representing Axie.
Exactly. Yeah. Not only me, but the co-founder of Axie Infinite, Jibo, was originally a community member as well, and that's where we both started out. But we're always, constantly looking for talent out there from the community. So you might be one day working for Axie Infinity too. So feel free to reach out to all of us, and yeah, we're looking forward to working with you guys.
Wow, this panel is starting to become a job vacancy opening. Shall I open one for YGG as well? And in YGG as well, right? You started off by playing Axie, because I remember seeing him playing some random games that I never know before.
I was actually playing like maybe 4 hours a day and then reading and hanging out in Discord. And that kind of deep involvement with the game and community, it cannot be faked, right? So, there's a lot of people who have come into this space because they see, this web of easy money. There's a lot of money here last year. They're also the ones that are first to leave when things start going south, and the ones who are actually continue building, like they're the ones that you should really pay attention to what they're doing, because that's where the future is headed.
Yeah. It's just what we say, right, guys? Like, when the going gets tough, that's when you see who your real friends are. And I think the blockchain space really bear that open, that, who are the real builders, who are the people who really care about the community, and who are just there when the time is good. And I'm glad to see that this panel are there for good. And I want to go to Jen for a little bit, because you're holding the mic. You're the shopper at the winter market. How do you spot this? Because I want to get some alphas on what to invest in. So.
Yeah, so we are an investor, but we're also a developer, a builder. And for us, we're very excited about a number of our games, but I would say Phantom Galaxies. We think it's going to be a great AAA quality blockchain game. The alpha is out now. You can play it. We gave away NFTs for free for the early alpha players, and that has done really well for us. And then we have acquired a new team from a company called Darewise. They're building a game, an RPG blockchain game called Life Beyond. So those are 2 games that we're very excited about. And then in terms of on the investment side, we've been investing continuously since 2018, just looking for teams who really believe in obviously decentralization and blockchain, but also have the ambition to build really high quality games, because the bar has certainly risen since a few years ago.
I see. So you don't want just another Axie clone, right? Because there are a lot of people who count it Axie clones.
Yeah.
Is there any good ones other than the two that you mentioned earlier?
I mean, there are a lot of great teams out there for sure. So we can't, we can't list them all, but we're doing our best to find the best ones.
Awesome, that's good. I try, guys, to pick out some alpha so we can, get out and invest immediately after this, but that's not coming up. Really? We don't want to drop anything, John? You don't want to drop anything to the audience so they go out and they can start buying the tokens? What is undervalued now? I think Gabby, you want to say something about something that's undervalued. Do you? No? My goodness, he was telling me something about it, but I think a lot of companies right now in play-to-earn space it's dropped significantly, right? But I also heard from Brian, since he's not here, so I also heard from Brian that the first thing that's going to pick up when there's an indicator of the bull market coming back, it will be when you see the play-to-earn the gaming space starts to come up. What do you guys think about that? Is that accurate?
Yeah, so
There's a renewed, focus now on gameplay and designing sustainable economies, and I think we're going to see an evolution of how tokenomics and rewards and fun core loops, metagame are being developed, and that's really what I'm excited about. If we are living in a virtual world and producing things of value, what does that game look like? And we've invested in a bunch, and I'm just excited to see these games launch and see how players react to them.
That's good to know. That's about value creations, right? Which was what Q was mentioning earlier about balancing, and that also increased value creations in gaming. And we can start seeing that value creation.
So we've also invested into companies. We're investors in like Animoca, Sandbox, mythical games, etc. But we invested into around 20 projects. But I think what excites me the most is the transition from the mobile developers or the traditional game developers moving into the space. These developers, it doesn't happen overnight. Like even developing a game, it takes about for our games a lot, and take about 4 or 5 years. And imagine a serious game developer entering this space. The amount of research that they have to put in takes a lot of time. And we only noticed the change from Axie Infinity. I think our company, we've been so used to changing all the time that and it came really top down to change the whole company overnight. But I think a lot of the other companies that I know, like a lot of friends in the industry, they're really actively monitoring the space, and I think what they're preparing is really gonna blow our minds, is what I really hope. And I think it will. So if you think about that happening last year, Axie Infinity happening last year, I think 2 or 3 years later, there are several companies that we're also investing into and we're already deeply talking in discussions with, but I think they will bring the next wave of play and own games, crypto games. And if you think about where you're using crypto, I think the best use case is game. It's a really practical use case. The other use cases, I don't really feel it as much as gaming, and I think that's why I think gaming is where everything is going to start. I think the metaverse is extremely exciting too, because that's a real practical use case, is what I also believe in. So yeah, I'm really excited for I think there's a really soft spot in my minds for Japanese games, because these are the games that we've been playing when we were growing up, and I think when the Japanese developers really get into the crypto space, I think that will bring a lot of changes to the whole crypto industry.
That's good to know, that's good to know. Thank you a lot for sharing that, Q. So we got the balancing economies, we've got balancing the new things that's coming into the gaming space, but I think what's most important is I want to end it with Christy, because I had a conversation with her yesterday, and she said something that the game has to be fun.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think that the term play to earn sort of has limited the funness that we've been, looking for in crypto gaming in general. And again, it's all about having fun. And I guess there has to be a difference in like the funness that blockchain gaming, provides, and that has to do with like ownership at the same time. But at the same time, like how do we really make the game fun itself? It's going to be sort of the core. And I think there has been a lot of development. I mean, we're building a game ourselves as well, and that has to do with the coding will be having a lot of metagame, and yeah, I think that's definitely coming. And if with the DeFi fallout and everything, it's definitely going to be those kind of fun games that'll drive the next bull run if ever that happens.
Thank you, Christy. Looking forward to work with you as fellow sub-guys. So thanks a lot, panelists, and thanks a lot to the audience for being here. We covered quite a lot in this 40-minute session, so I tried my best to get down as good as possible and get you guys alphas. But you can see that these 5 panelists that we have, they work together closely in the GameFi and the guild space, because these two have to work hand in hand. And it's not true that Axie is not fun. We have a fan who now his life is turned around by working with the best company in the world for him, right? It's like us being a kid being a Superman, or being a Superman, right? So dreams will come true, and it's exciting time right now in the bear market. This is a time where we find best friends, because at bear market is a time where we find builders. It's a time where we shop, right, for good deals and build together. And it's not just identifying people with money, but people who could be with you to build together in the bear market. So when the bull market is here, we can really party and spend this money. Let's change life together. I guess that's the message. So thank you so much, everyone. Let's give it up for our panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.